My name is Teresa Njoroge and I live in New Jersey. I am a wife married to Peter Njoroge and I am a mother of two daughters, 23, soon to be 23, and a 21-year-old. And I have been living here in the USA for 28 years. I am an educator by profession and I am also a hustler. I have a business called Jambo List that I co-own with Mary Moturi and Sarah Munyere. And we are here and we are very, very excited at what's going on.
Hello there and welcome to Nash Talk Network. Karibu sana Teresa. And we're just going straight to how did you come to the US?
Wow, Nash, thank you for having me.
Yes.
And how did I come to the US? I came to the US back in 1995.
Yes.
And I came as a student and I wanted to pursue a master's degree right after college.
Oh,
Yes.
So how did you find it, like after landing to the US? What were your expectations and you encounter any challenges as a new student?
So back in 95, think about it, I was 24 years old and I came to this country, and when I got here, I didn't know anyone. You know, somebody had just said to me, your daughter will, the person who brought me here had told me that his daughter was going to meet me at the airport. So I'm starting in a new country, new culture shock. It was a little different.
Yes.
Because you're coming from a country where you know everybody to a country where you don't know anyone. So I found it quite different, and it has been different. But since now I've made it home, it feels like home to me. Yes, but I did encounter some challenges, which I can tell you all about them. There's many of them.
So how long have you been to New Jersey?
I have never lived in any other state. I say I live in New Jersey because that's where Jesus lives. And so I've been here 28 years.
Wow.
I've lived here longer than I've lived in Kenya.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so we're just gonna get a little bit emotional in details of especially of what you're doing right now. Let's get into more details because not everybody from Kenya knows that when you step to the US, you can still be a professional. Some of the people might think, oh, I'm just coming here and then skip into one specific line of profession. But talking to you earlier, it turns out you're an educator. So how did you get yourself into that, and did you encounter any challenges to getting inside to the profession that you're in now?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So when I first came here, there were not so many Kenyans in 95 as they are like now. So you listen to the advice of a few people. So those days, a lot of people used to babysit. Babysit children from rich, wealthy people, and then they would go to school for nursing. As it is right now, nursing is very popular with the immigrants. But I always knew that I honestly did not like nursing. My dream as a child, as a little girl, I always wanted to be a headmistress. I don't know why, but if to this day, I carry a lot of keys, because I used to see my headmistress with a lot of keys, and I associated it with being the headmistress, walking around with the keys, and if you mess up with me, nitakuonga kwa, with my keys. So I had that. That was my dream. I wanted to be a headmistress. Now they are called principals, and so that line of education was, to me, I was very passionate that I wanted to hold on to my career. I had graduated from KU with a bachelor's degree in education. So my line of work was going to be education. So when I landed here, the first challenge was my accent.
Yes.
Okay. So me, I'm from Kiambu.
Yes.
And when you're from Kiambu, I'm saying this for me. I don't know about the other Kiamburians, but for me, L and L
Yeah.
don't mix. I have no idea which one comes first. So I would say some stuff in English, and somebody says, what? And so my accent was on the way. When you want to be a teacher and you have an accent, it was on my way. But you know what? That was one of the obstacles. And then, of course, for me, in order to teach here, you have to have a teaching license. And I didn't know how to go about it, but through it all, I learned steps of what I needed to do. So my first thing was I went in to get my master's in education. So I have 2 master's degrees, and for the first master's degree in special education in Kenya, again, when I was growing up, we didn't have schools for children with special needs, and a lot of people in my village who had special needs children, they kept them home. So I became passionate about that field. And so my journey began, even though I hustled in my first career my first hustle as a living cleaner for somebody's house, for a white person's house. After that, I would go to school. I would go to school because I didn't want to pursue this career in education. And I have been an educator since 97. So I've spent 27 years in the education world.
Wow.
And so the biggest challenge for me was my accent. That was on the way, but I did not let that stand on my way of success. The second thing was being able to finance my education. I had to do multiple jobs. I tell my children every day that I used to shop at the thrift store so that I can be able to go to school and be able to afford paying for my international student tuition.
Wow, that's interesting. So now you got yourself to, how did you get your first job?
So how did I get my first job? So my first job was I found through an agency. I was a living housekeeper.
Yeah.
That was my. Now you're talking about culture shock. You want to hear culture shock?
Yeah.
I'm living in somebody's house, and I always tell people that it was a wonderful family. They didn't have children, but they had a dog, and that dog was treated like royalty. The dog's name was Corona, and I'm not making this up. It's the name of the dog, and I have actually a photo to prove that Corona and I were buddies.
Yeah.
I would give Corona showers, and I'm like, who washes a dog? I never, in my head, I was like, I grew up in the village where we taught dogs to stay outside. Yeah. But that was my first job, and I did it well. Because whatever I've ever done, I believe if it's a job, it's worthy doing well.
Yeah.
So when I was doing my housekeeping job, and so I used to clean the house, and of course I used to be the cook, and I didn't know how to make American food. I used to know how to make mokimo, and nobody was gonna eat that. So they had a library of books, and I learned very fast how to make American food using menus from the cookbooks. That was my first job, and so when my employer told me that she was returning back to Manhattan, which is New York City, to live there, I didn't want to live in Manhattan. So they gave me an option to stay in Jersey in their house and look for another job. And I embraced it. That's when I looked for a job to work in a school for special education students. So my first job there was an aide. I was an aide. And one time, my director, the supervisor for the aides, looked at me and just admired how I was working, even in the job as an aide. And she looked at me one night, and one day she said to me, "What are you up to?" I said, "I'm pursuing my master's degree in education." And she said to me, "You know what? We have a teacher going on maternity leave. I'm going to have the principal call you." And immediately the school applied for an emergency license. So I actually taught in America before I could even figure out how do you teach in America. That was on a Friday. By Monday, I had already been offered the position as a teacher. And that's how my first teaching career started.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's go back to motherhood. Now you started, you earlier said you have 2 daughters.
Yes.
So how are you able to, handle, raise up your kids at the same time, be on this profession, and yourself, you are still in school by the time you had your kids?
So when I first had my children, I had completed my master's. So Peter and I got married in '98, and I had my first child in 2000. So by then I had already finished my master's. I went back for my second master's when my kids were 4 and 5. So I went again because I needed to change to get administration work at the school districts. So I decided to go back. And so at that time, my kids were 4 and 5. Now, juggling all those things as a mom, as a wife, as a mom, and as a career woman. And did I tell you that at that moment, I also was a director for a beauty company because I like hustling. So I had like 4 things going on at the same time. First, my husband is very supportive. We complement each other. We don't compete. And so he was really helpful. But I honestly, sometimes I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown because there was a time I would be coming from college in the middle of the night. And then I have to come and set the kids up for the morning. And then I have to be there for their evening work. I have to be there for their homework. And at that time, I also had a show who was helping me with the kids also. So it was a juggle, but where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah,
I know. Let's get back to a little bit of Jambo List. How did it get started and what do you guys do there?
Jambo List is our baby. We call it our baby. And we no longer call it a side hustle. It is now a full company. Jambo List started like this. The story of Jambo List is very interesting. So the 3 women behind Jambo List is myself and Sarah Munyere and Mary Moturi. Now, we are what we call ourselves community leaders. And like my husband always tell me, nobody appointed you to that. Yes, I know, nobody appointed us to that. But when you live in a community, you kind of take leadership role. And so we are leaders naturally, and we also like helping. So what happened with Jambo List is that as community leaders here, people used to call us for different things. I can't tell you how many people I've gotten jobs for. Many people, even Americans. People would ask us, do you know somebody hiring? Do you know where I can do this? Do you know a car mechanic that I can trust? And so as we were going along, we would refer these people to these businesses, right? And one day, Sarah and I remember very well, I was taking a walk in the neighborhood, and I was on the phone with Sarah. And I was telling Sarah about a new book that I'm reading. And the book was a Jewish rabbi who was talking about why Jews are successful. The secret behind their success. And he said it's because that's what they are taught in their Torah, to support one another and to give, to be generous. And as we were talking, I was not talking Sarah into listening to this rabbi that I had fallen in love with, about why they are successful. One of the secrets to their success is how they support one another. They support one another as a community. If you meet a Jew and you ask them, I'm looking for an immigration lawyer, they will hand you a business card for another person in their synagogue. And as we were discussing this, I said to Sarah, and how come us we don't do that with some of the things he's teaching? Yes, we do a lot of Harambes, but do we really support each other? And we found that there was a void. Why aren't we supporting each other? Some of the time it's not because we don't want to. Sometimes it's because we don't know what somebody does. So that's how Jambo List was born, to connect businesses and consumers. So our focus is mainly African-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. And so we created a free directory. And that's how Jambo List was born. It's a free directory. But now we've moved into a business where we also market businesses and we feature businesses and we bring information to the community.
Yes. I see that you guys have an expo coming up.
We do. Yes, we do. We have an expo coming. It's Memorial Day weekend in the USA. I say all roads have to lead to New Jersey. Our expo is May 26, 27, and 28. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is going to be in Somerset, Doubletree Hotel. We are going to be in Doubletree on Friday and Saturday. And then the following, on Sunday, we are going to be doing a cookout at the park, Johnson Park by Rutgers University. That's where we're going to be hosting. So we have vendors who are coming from Kenya, and we also have vendors who are in the US. And we know with the Expo, what we were asking ourselves is, what kind of information do the people in the diaspora want to hear? Who do they want to interact with? So we have different companies coming up for the Expo, and some of them is just what the request of people in the diaspora. We listen to them. One of the challenges we have in the diaspora is that we send a lot of money to Kenya. I don't know about you, but I remember sending money to people to do things for me that were never done. You go out there and they take photos of people's homes and they tell you this is a house I built for you. When you get there, unapata hakuna nyumba. So we've been working diligently, especially because Mary Muturi is in Kenya right now. We've been working diligently to fed companies that are legitimate. And so we have a bunch of them coming. And we also have the CS for Land, Housing, and Urban Development, Honorable CS Jero. He's going to be our keynote speaker. And he's actually coming with Honorable Hinga, who is the CS for Housing. They're coming. And we also are waiting to confirm whether the ambassador from DC will be there. And so you will have all your questions answered, especially about land and housing. Yes.
Oh, that's really great. So I'm gonna just throw in, this is just some minor question, but it's very important for us women. The kind of difficulties we go through as African women when we live in the US, especially this like stuff like somebody who does your hair, like those kind of challenges. It's not like back home whereby I just wake up and there's a salon down there and have my hair washed down and then, and all that. Maybe there are women here who are watching, maybe somebody has a salon. What do you want to tell some of these women who maybe they had a talent back home, but they come and sit on it instead of doing it? Maybe somebody comes here and then they start doing a factory job or they start doing nursing, and they forget that there is such an opportunity. Like you guys started Jambo List, and it's doing well. So can you speak it up for the women that are watching this video today? How do they get started?
For the people who had a talent back home, and you are asking yourself, you are sitting on your talent, like you just said, Nash. The first thing I have to remind every woman is that all dreams are valid. And it's very easy to let your dream go, especially because you have to put food on the table. It's okay to allow yourself to go to the factory job, but at the same time, pursue your side hustle. Don't let your side hustle die, So pursue it, even if you have to juggle it for a short time. Even if you start small, let's say you are good at doing hair, you can start small by even creating a small space in your basement and start bringing few customers here and there until you make it into a full-blown business. But don't let your dream die because you're in this country. And I know a lot of people who are like in nursing and other fields, like because when they came here, they were told that's where the money is. And I'm not going to say that's not where the money is, but I know that the money can follow your talent also. Your gifts can still make room for you. You don't have to be sitting in something that you really hate. And even if those nursing or hospital jobs, you can also make that into a business. Think outside the box and say, okay, what can I do with this? What can I do with this talent? So for women listening to this conversation, I want to encourage you. Don't just sit there and say, unajua America is so difficult. Yes, there are challenges that you're going to face, but a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for coming to our show, and to our viewers, thank you so much for your support. Please go ahead and subscribe and share my content. It is so much informative. Like you've seen today, we have Teresa from Jambo List and women that are doing so well. So please go ahead and subscribe and share my content. And at the same time, I will encourage you guys to come to Jambo List event that is going to be going down on the 26th and 27th and 28th. And I hope to see you there. Thank you.